Welcome to Rush Mode, our 30-minute, 10 minutes for each topic, three-topic podcast. I'm joined by Mattzs,
Hello.
and I'm RadZakpak. Let's get into our first topic. The first topic is just a question. And the question is, was the multiverse a mistake? So the multiverse of pre-Togder Toten, I guess, when did it start? That's the first thing we can talk about.
When did it?
Yeah, when did the multiverse start, would you say?
Okay, I think this is my obligatory time to. I think Moon. I stand by that. That it was the events of Moon that created the multiverse. Long story short, because of the different Monty quotes that talk about everything was together, in one place, and then you take something like a metaphorical hammer and shatter a mirror, and then you have all these bits and pieces of glass all over the place, and you can visualize each one is a fracture, because I think that's
Right.
also where the term fracture comes from, why they use that. So I would say I feel bad because I've said this so many times, so I don't want to like rehash for people who've been consistent watching this, but I think it's Moon. Moon created it.
Do you think that was their intention
I'd say
to create it at the time the moon came out?
why else would, and I stand by this, why else would the achievement be called Big Bang Theory?
Good point.
Like what? Because it just seemed so random at the time to have an achievement about the creation of the universe, and it's like, what does that have to do with anything? So
I guess then the second question is, was that the mistake? Should they have stayed more grounded after that? I mean, I guess they tried to. Victus was more of like a human, just regular human story, but then they went off the deep end with Mob.
yeah,
Yeah. So it was a mistake to just make these different timelines, different places. I guess Origins is like when it's like right in your face. Like everyone knows now there's like an alternate timeline and stuff. So.
I mean, I'm not. I don't really have strong feelings one way or the other, but I do think that having a multiverse definitely creates a lot of problems. That's, I think, just a given. With just when you're dealing with that kind of writing, there's so many avenues, and it also brings up, because even though I think the multiverse was created at Moon, like you said, the first time we really get a hint is what was it, Origins, and then Black Ops 3 is when it's revealed, I think, in Shadows of Evil, the drawing of all the Earths. So we went through Black Ops 2 with the different endings with Richtof and Maxis, and kind of looking backwards, it's like, okay, well, is the Maxis ending, that's like the quote-unquote canon for our run-through, but did the Richtofen ending actually happen in a multiverse? I think it then accounts for why you have this sort of sudden split between campaign and zombies. So there's like a lot of questions that I think arise retroactively when you establish a multiverse. I mean, the only good thing, I guess, about a multiverse is that it allows you to play with concepts and things like Origins without tainting the sort of grounded, well, quote-unquote grounded feel for zombies. So I think it creates problems. That's what I'd say. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's necessarily a big jump from time travel, which we got time travel within the first map of the new game. I mean, even before that, theories had teleportation. I think it's pretty logical to make that jump eventually. Was it a mistake? Maybe from like a, because it doesn't bother me because I've been following this for years and I can see where everything is. I understand it at this point, but like someone that's a casual or a newcomer, yeah, I can totally get why this would be bad, and that's why they ended up closing it all in with Togger Toten.
Well,
we can start over.
At some point, I'm not. I mean, are we even sure? Because in our conversation off, I guess, air, when we were talking about Cold War, it's weird that you have the sort of Cold War story, and now there's choices added into the campaign. So if it's supposed to be one coherent universe now, which is like why we're seeing Modern Warfare, are like, it just feels weird to have choices, and then those choices to there's sort of a canon choice. Like, it would make more sense that those choices exist in a multiverse. So I don't know. I guess the other good thing about having a multiverse, though, is that it can prevent some retcons. Like, because when Origins came out, we didn't know, is that a retcon? Is that just like what World War One was supposed to be like, and it would be like that. That's really hard for all this sort of these sort of occult science to have existed, decades before Group 930, or well, Group 935 was around in Origins, but the stuff before it in World at War. And it's like, at least, okay, it's a separate universe, so it doesn't taint what happened there. But I just think multiverse writing is tricky, and creates a lot of issues.
Right. I enjoy it, but I can acknowledge it may have been a big mistake. I mean, like you said, Moon. I think there is a group of people that would say Moon kind of ruined things. It kind of wrote them into a corner of, okay, we just destroyed Earth, so
Yeah.
for the sake of a big whoa moment, but now we have to pick up the pieces and like justify why we would go back to like a normal world. So now we gotta go here and here and here, and now there's, I don't know, but yeah, I guess the answer is, for me, it's not a well, it is a mistake if like you, for the story they're trying to tell, if it's trying to be grounded, but I enjoy it, I suppose.
Yeah. I think for me, maybe this is my cope, but it's prevented some retcons and has added the like, okay, well, campaign and zombies did exist or coexist at one point. Okay, I guess Modern Warfare was a separate universe until it merged back, and so there's some things that I guess, or I'd like to think the like iOS and DS zombies maybe exist somewhere in the multiverse. Chaos exists somewhere in the multiverse.
Right. I'll say it's great for like creative thinking. Like if you want to create your own little pocket in this multiverse, just like imagine your own headcanon. It's a lot more rich. There's a lot more to work with.
Yeah, I think that the Chaos story is a good example because I felt it included elements that were dropped out of zombies long ago. Like maybe the last time you saw stuff like that, or like more occult leaning, where like Mob of the Dead before Blood of the Dead, and it was nice to have those things come back. But it felt like, but it's still not Ether. But if it's a multiverse, then this is still, a part of the Ether story somewhere. So in that regard, it's kind of nice to feel like I never really left the Ether storyline. I'm just dealing with a sub, or a pocket of it or a fracture.
Right. But yeah, it's also the reason there's the constant memes of like, this is what Ether storyline experts are like, and it's like the fucking, like the Morshu guy from the whatever. But yeah, it's just like we're insane people, like genuinely, that we can follow this shit.
Or I've seen the other one where it's like, they go through each game, and then by the time you get to like Black Ops 3 and 4, it's like transcendental, like human being, and which is, it's not far off than what's like going on in the story. So it's like, yeah, it's just this, I don't know. They definitely went places, but I guess it maybe in some ways it was always destined to go there. I mean, people have kind of said that too. That there's some variants that might have even been more off the wall that we didn't get.
But yeah, after like a story that was 11 years long, I'm not surprised that it would go there. Maybe it went a little too fast there for people. Maybe there was not a good entry point after a certain point. I can totally acknowledge. And I guess that's what Dark Ether is for. I mean, I'm going to always be a curmudgeon, and I like Ether, but Dark Ether is perfect for that.
I don't even see a difference between the two. Like, I get it. Like, they're trying.
Yeah.
It's basically Ether the sequel. It's still Ether. It's the Dark Ether.
It's perfect in that way. It's like a great idea. It's not a reboot.
Yeah.
It is connected, but also if you didn't like it, you could pretend it doesn't exist because it's cut off at a certain point. Or, if you do like it, then, or like if you don't care about regular Ether, you can just pretend like this is the only thing.
Yeah, which is,
like the thing with Samantha is just like backstory.
Well, like I also wonder how many people would really know Samantha, especially like newer viewers.
I feel like she's I mean, if you've even like tangentially know about zombies, you might know about Samantha.
With the Sam, yeah, that's true.
It's a mystery box. It's like, who's laughing?
Oh, yeah, and then the zombie saying Sam. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, because that's the only thing, is that she's pretty much a a glaring, not even glaring, just a telling being like that's Ether. It's not like it's a whole new cast of characters, because we even though we know Weaver, but like Samantha's directly from Ether, so you can't have Dark Ether without Ether.
So our next topic is about the Path of Sorrows, which is
the name of Takeo's sword. We actually get to use it in, I think, Revelations the first time, and then later it's like a specialist weapon in Black Ops 4. Now, the interesting thing about it is it's got some writing on it in Japanese. A couple different things, so we'll talk about that here. So the first thing that's written on it that's interesting is, okay, it has characters that mean demon flesh eater. I guess that's a zombie, so there's zombies on it. But it's also got characters that for Muramasa, who is a famous swordsmith. So there's like a whole thing with Muramasa where he's like this supposed like crazed lunatic, and like the swords he makes, it puts like this kind of hex on it to where it's like a cursed sword.
Yeah, we were saying that interestingly enough came later, right? Because then like he created a style. I mean, this is all from the Wikipedia, so I'm not like an expert on katanas, but like it seemed like that was a style of, I guess, like swordsmithing that then became
right. Yeah, he was like famous swordsmith in like the 1500s, but then like 18th century it became like this legendary thing. It's like a Muramasa sword. It's like this cursed sword, and it desires blood, which is just so. It fits so well with like a sword that, well, like the way it works in Black Ops 4 is it's like, I think the characters even say stuff like it's like the sword's talking to me.
Yes,
like
they
it's
do.
empowering you. It clearly wants blood. It needs blood to like charge up and everything.
Well, it's also before I even get to this, in Revelations, is it still the same model? That's one of the
question. I don't. It probably is a little different from the Black Ops 4 version.
Okay, that's fine. It was probably just that's like just a dev thing. But yeah, what I always found interesting about the sword, and unless you want to say it's somehow tied to like Apothicon runes or something like the with Shadows of Evil, like the sacrificing souls and everything, I guess Mob of the Dead too, it seems kind of out of place. Like when you have the Chaos story, where you have the sort of the artifacts tied to like folklore and mythology, like everything else in the Ether storyline or the Ether specialist weapons, it's like the death machine that Dempsey modified, I guess, because of wacky science, and Nikolai's flamethrower, Richtofen's DG5. The Path of Sorrows is the only one that it's not really like sci-fi. So, and then the effect on it, because I think when you get it to like level 3, your character runs their hand along the inscription, and then you turn invisible to zombies. So it's like, is that like, that like Keeper and Apothicon rune carving, or is this like something supernatural? It's so out of place. I like it, but it's
no, I love it. I mean, it's interesting you brought that up. I'm trying to think of like items related to characters that have like those, like this kind of magic.
I guess zombie blood would be the only other one. Like, doesn't it get kind of green?
Well, there's also like Richtofen's diary, and like it seems to be like kind of connected to the Carnorium in a weird way, because it's like when you interact with it in Shinonuma, it makes that demonic laugh. The same demonic laugh also happens with the Carnorium. And it's like people that read his diary actually like go insane. They start like connecting to the ether. They can hear Samantha's voice. It happens to Dr. Lehman and then Dr. Zavoyski, Yuri. Yeah,
that's right. I just like it. I mean, like I said, it's more than likely if we really want to tie it to ether stuff. I mean, we've seen blood sacrifice and soul, things before, but I like that, or I hope it's a sign of a more expansive universe where there's other things at play, like tying in like Japanese folklore and stuff like that's really cool. So
yeah.
I'd hope. I know, how much time do we have? Because the first thing that it made me think of was the debate over the bio and whether or not he killed his parents.
I should also say that it also says on the sword Masaki and then Saburo. Just presuming like the name Saburo Masaki, which could be like an ancestor, could be his father, grandfather.
Yeah, it doesn't explicitly mean his father, but it's just interesting that there's like a family name carved to it. And at first I thought, oh, the sword is cursed because maybe it is a reference, like he killed his family. But then you find out that there's sort of this stigma attached to, I guess, that style of sword. And I think even when we were looking it up, it made some comment about like the swords supposedly drive the users to like commit murder or suicide. So it, in a lot of ways, it makes me think maybe it is a reference to the World at War bio, and that might,
Yeah, we should kind of explain
yeah, it's
your
true.
whack job,
Yeah, I'm
your
sorry.
whack job wackadoodle memory memory lapse.
You're right. How can I forget about that? Yeah, if we're talking about these
So,
things, you go.
okay, so basically, there are World of War bios. In bios, there's in World of War, there's bios for Ultimus. Now, there's like a discrepancy between like a version that was on the Treyarch site and the one in game, and like because of that, people have like these strange memories of like different versions of it.
Hmm.
And at this, now to be fair, both me and Matt have come to this separately. Found people saying that the Takeo bio at one point said something about him killing his family.
I swear
Matt
the phrase. You go.
Matt's pretty adamant that it exists, which it's totally fair because it very could well be like something that was
Patched out.
removed.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I just think it's like a Mandela effect that it was a combination of two different parts of that bio, like misremembered. I just wish there's an answer for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is something that could support your theory on that.
Because I mean, more than likely, if it was something that was patched out, maybe it was just like an earlier version of the BIOS that they put in, and then for whatever reason just got like removed in something. But I have explicit memories of a bio, some type of quote saying like "slain his family for insolence" or something like that, and it fits with the character. Like if he's this honorable samurai, very idealistic, that he would kill his family for dishonor. And then there's what's the thing they said? There's like a haiku or something tattooed on his eyelids. That was like another thing in the bio that says life is light before honor, and that really fits with the idea that he would kill his own family. Life is light when compared to honor, so it's like he has no qualms killing his family if they're dishonorable, and it just fits that. And then the ending of the bio, where it just says, if you fall victim to his swift action and might, know that you have helped a man better than you reach enlightenment. I don't remember that. And it's at that point, I don't think any of the other bios really talk to the reader. Like, yeah, there's the quote for Richthofen, but that's just saying, like, oh, it's just a message that's inscribed on, I don't know, wherever it is, about, like, the victims or whatever. But it almost seems like it was something added in later, and I stand by that. So I like the idea that maybe he was this idealistic samurai, very rigid in his views about honor, and maybe he had this cursed heirloom or something that drove him to kill his family, like in a moment of passion or something. Like they had dishonored him, and then the sword tainted his mind.
He killed them, and I was like that. Your spirit kind of cursed the sword. That's why it says the name.
Yeah. See, I thought about that too, but like I guess if we go with the folklore that they make people sort of try to commit some atrocity. But yeah, then maybe like after he kills the person, then it's like engraved on the sword, and that's why he's all about meditation and enlightenment, because he's trying to atone for his sins that he committed as a young, like rambunctious samurai. So I don't know. Right. I like it adds lore to it. You have this connection to folklore. It connects to the World at War bios. Like,
that's one of my favorite little like just details. Like, honestly, people go look up Muramasa and like the sword. Just very interesting that he would have that sword, and maybe it's like a family heirloom created by that sword maker. But yeah, that it's like it just makes the specialist weapon even cooler. The way that it works, and it's got that red glow. It's clearly like people talk about it's talking to them. So
yeah, I hope they don't like, oh, it's like Apothecon something desiring souls, but like I like the idea that it fits so well, tying in all the elements. Like, he could still be this hot-headed samurai, but the cursed sword made him, step a line that he wouldn't cross, and then you have like just there's so much that you could do with it that's exciting. Mm-hmm. So.
I guess I'll finish this by saying, if you are one of the saps that modified a wiki or something, and or put out a little forum post saying he killed his family, shame on you, and shame on you if you made the transit bus driver's name Ted. Shame on you. You're not. Who do you think you are? So our third topic is highly conspiratorial. If that's a word. John Banana and D. King. So these are two enigmatic individuals. John Banana being one of the Marines that was at Verrucht with Tank Dempsey. D. King being a guy exclusive to the Black Ops 1 terminal. We're going to kind of talk about the conspiracy, what the answer could be, all that. I would really be interested to see if anyone has any more information. So, to kind of started off, the Black Ops 1 terminal in the Dreamland server, which is like it's like scientists kind of discussing zombies related stuff. It's like the zombies section, basically. So between two scientists, Vannevar Bush, J. Robert Oppenheimer, they're sharing a poem by John Banana. And the poem has a secret message encoded in it. DKMFK. So DK stands for this guy named D. King. MFK is his password in the CIA server. Keep in mind, John Banana, he dies in 1945 at Verrucht, right? So how does he have his password for the future? Or like the CIA account for this rando in the future? So here's where it gets deeper. When you go into D. King's account, he has a bunch of haikus, and the haikus are related to the campaign, and like one of them is multiplayer. They're all like told from the perspective of like characters in the campaign. Like they're very, very personal, very strange. But it's something interesting. There's 3 missing haikus. Like they all have file names. It's like hi1, hi2, hi3, .txt, you know, all that. 3 of them are missing. Hi1, hi2, and hi5. And all 3 of those are actually found again in the Dreamland server under Vannevar Bush. And this is and they seem to be related to zombies. It's like one of them's like gun in my right hand, a cola in my left, bring me the meat sacks. So that sounds like fighting zombies. And because it's under the same guy who was talking about John Banana, presumably John Banana wrote the haiku. So did he also write the campaign haikus that were under D. King? Because they all have like the same file name format. They seem connected. He gave the password for D. King. So it's like a big circular like what is going on? How does John Banana know about this? Like why does D. King have poems that could be by John Banana? What's going on? And then it gets deeper with like there's like this person named X in the terminal who's like giving warnings to people. That's the whole thing. We have a video on it if you want. But they say to Hudson, "Do not trust D. King." Reports to Richard Kane. Richard Kane has his eye on you. Be wary. That's just a big conspiracy, and I don't even know how to unpack it. Me and Matt were kind of talking earlier about like, what could D. King be like a reference to somebody? And I was like, wait a minute, a person. I remember someone named King at Treyarch. There's a guy named David King who's the creator of Dead Ops Arcade. Maybe it's him. He might be the D. King we're looking for. Still doesn't answer a lot about John Banana, so I just talked a lot. Matt, what do you think is going on here?
I mean, I think there's a lot. My initial thoughts on the like terminals were that they were just profiles of figures. So, you know, the password being in the haiku might not, you know, it was almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like maybe they saw this message that was been circulating and there was like some CIA analyst or whatever, so then they decided to create a profile on like D. King, and they use this. But if you look at the stuff that that is attributed to Banana, it does seem like he's slowly losing his mind, and with all like 115 delusions, I guess it's not out of the question that he would have almost like revelations and seeing things. So why he'd almost write, you know, haikus from the perspective of Mason or Reznov. Even the what was it, the meat sack quote could be Dempsey or something like that. So I don't think it's out of the question that, yeah, it could be prophetic. And well, is John Banana? I'm thinking like the Book of Revelations written by John, but like yeah, I think it's entirely possible, especially if there is some like ethereal plane of consciousness that maybe he's tapping into that, seeing things, like some weird merging of minds that's going on where he's taking like memories from other people and experiences, and he can't process this and is just kind of like writing this all out while he's like slowly dying in Verrucht. Because you see, when he talks about Smokey, right, his friend, who was also on the mission with I think him, Dempsey, and who's the fourth person? Paxton
Gunner Ridge, yeah.
Paxton Gunner Ridge. Is that a reference to something? I feel like I've heard that before somewhere. I don't know why. Thinking like a movie, but maybe not. It's probably a blatant reference, and I'm just blanking right now what it is. But anyway, yeah, he doesn't recognize that his friend's a zombie. He sort of gives himself the moniker John Banana because he worked at like a Mexican cabana. So he's sort of like losing his mind. So it's not out of the question that he's having these prophetic visions or something. So I don't know.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I'm wondering, is like the DK MFK like secret message, is that more of it's just like images in his mind? It's like the numbers. It's just
he
has to write it down.
DK, yeah.
Or is it like a warning? Is it like the Kronos scene from The Incredibles, where it's like he's trying to warn them about decaying? Like this guy is no good.
Yeah, or like
It's part of the Illuminati or something. And it's like, yeah.
Well, I do want to get to that in a second, but like, yeah, like how much of it is it? Is it Monty's hand or someone's hand that's guiding him to write these things? Like, yeah, like what extent is it, how much agency does he have or awareness of these things? There's so much, but it is funny because what was it? Aren't the two recipients Bush? I'm forgetting the other one.
Oppenheimer.
Yeah, because they were what was it? There's a conspiracy that they were a part of the Majestic 12, which I think is
and the Dreamland server. Yeah, is actually for Majestic 12. Yeah.
So it doesn't seem out of the question that maybe, and I think Majestic 12, side note, I think became Broken Arrow, but it's neither here nor there. So it's entirely possible. Yeah, maybe we are dealing with stuff with the Illuminati, the Majestic 12, those kind of things would kind of be cool to tie into the story. But I think the last question I have is D King just, are they, because it's more than likely that Treyarch dev. I think that's, I don't know. I'd be very shocked.
Yeah, definitely a reference to that, I would think.
Yeah, is there anything about the character that is inspired by the dev? Like I think of, for people who are familiar with World of Warcraft, or it's like the character Nat Pagle, who's a fisherman, and then there was like a dev on the team who loved to fish. So like, is there anything about the character that's like an inside joke or a reference to the developer, or did they just use the name? Because he's presented. What do you say?
I was gonna say I think it's like you could connect the connection to John Banana, and it's like MFK could be like a monkey something, or like something monkey related, or Kong. I don't know, something like that, or King Kong, because of his connection to Death Arcade and the Cosmic Silverback.
The only things that come to mind with DK MFK, aside from his initials, is like Martin Luther King, JFK, and like MK Ultra, MK, like those things. But I don't know, like, is there any reference to that? Or like, it's just, those are the only sort of things that come to mind. But yeah, maybe it's just Donkey Kong and bananas.
Right.
Mario fights
some
Kong.
Haikus, just a couple that stick out. One of them is that's actually under the Dreamland server, is went down the lake, stumbled upon a secret, will not sleep again. And my conspiracy is that it's a 10-year in advance, the secret from Togder Toten, the Shangri-La's on Mars thing.
Yeah.
Would be funny.
I could totally see them connecting it now to it. I feel like it could also be Rebirth Island, especially with the campaign's connections and the location of it was at the Aral Sea, so it fits. But given zombies, it could, and the whole, what is it, Schrodinger's cat, like it could be both places at once. Who knows what he's seeing? So it doesn't rule anything out.
This one's my favorite. Is it him or not? Two souls trapped in one body, the other a wolf, which seems to be reference to Mason, who had Rezanov in his mind. But the way it's worded, two souls trapped in one body, that's so zombies, right?
Yes. Yeah, and the other thing is that most of the quotes are from the perspective of the character, so I think there's a good chance if it's not Mason, I'd be interested to kind of theorize that, but if it's Mason talking about himself, and yeah, contemplating like does Reznov really exist inside of him, and if so, if we're dealing with consciousness like that, because you have the whole thing with MK Alpha and Purnell and all that stuff, and Blackout, if that is a weird plane of consciousness, like maybe there is something to it that Reznov is living on in Mason, and the memories and things he's seeing aren't just like implanted. It's like he's actually experiencing these memories or consciousness or something like that.
He did like a zombies kind of apothecon ritual to put his soul in Mason's body, and then Mason has a granddaughter, and then they make the Blackout program, and Reznov's the first archetype, and that was a very confusing sentence I just said.
To live on
forever. Reznov. Anyway, good 3 topics. Good talking with you, Matt.
Yeah, always a pleasure.
See you guys next time.